Nearly all of us, nearly all the time, but not all of us, not all of the time, use Jesus the wrong way. This morning, getting ready to depart from the Walmart parking lot on a 40-mile trip, two fellows were in a work vehicle, maybe oil field stuff. Hispanic, I think, but not first generation in the United States, based on the speech. The contact initiated with some very warm, favorable comments about the vehicle and the obvious mission related to Jesus. We got into conversation, and James sermonized for a while and would have stopped, but both parties seemed glad of it. And when it reached a point, the fella on the driver's side that I was in conversation with, told me some of the most encouraging story I've heard from a person. Early 40s is my guess this fella is. He was a drug user, hated his life, and one night was considering suicide, and said, "Jesus, if you'll help me, I'll commit my life to you." Now, this is a story I've heard many times in various ways, and it almost always makes me sad, but it didn't make me sad. There was something real and something solid about him and this story. And he said, "My life changed." And based on our further conversation, I was not interrogating him, I was listening. He's the kind of soul that Jesus would say was on the path that Jesus tried to get us to. Fast forward a couple of hours into today's cycling journey. Yesterday, or this morning I think, I put up an inquiry on Facebook to several recumbent cycling groups. Do they know of a shop in the area I am in, headed toward Albuquerque, that might talk to me about seat alignment, body mechanics, and whatever? I'm 8 years into this, and I just haven't come to terms with how to relate to this vehicle. If I've heard back from anyone, I haven't been able to check. But as has often happened before, when I put out a question in a certain way, my nervous system starts to make sense of things, even without input. And as someone trained in counseling psychology, as I am at the master's level, the one thing that is known in psychology to be of great therapeutic value is empathic listening. When one is in the presence of someone that seems to genuinely want to hear and understand. Not to fix and adjust, but to hear and understand. Something happens in the nervous system of the person wanting growth, wanting help, wanting to get unstuck. And just by putting that message out there today, my nervous system started to help me. James, you used to be on a conventional bicycle a lot. Yeah, I have, and I've thought about it a lot, as you'll remember. Yes, you have, James. But have you thought about this? Try and remember where the pedal mechanism is relative to your torso. Okay. And where it is now, and where it has been for the last 8 years. Okay. Well, where it has been for the last 8 years is in front of my chest. Really, James. So on a conventional bicycle, do you remember the pedal mechanism being in front of your chest? Well, no, I don't. I remember the pedal mechanism being down under my perineum. I remember my knees being in a racing position, being in front of my chest, but not the pedal mechanism. Oh. And further, James, the vector created by your pedaling exertion when you were on a conventional bicycle, isn't it sort of pushing you back from that backward, sliding you slightly backward on that hard leather seat you were on that probably or possibly destroyed your ability to perform sexually? Yes, slightly backward. We'll see if you can do that on this recumbent bicycle, James, without adjusting anything except your own posture. Well, dang, I can. And it's not all that weird. The point of all this is probably the best situation is when we are in dialogue with an empathic listener. Look it up if you're not familiar. Carl Rogers is the one that popularized it, for which he deserves credit. Empathic listening. And this fella I spoke to in the Walmart parking lot this morning, my guess is that he used Jesus the way that we should use him. And for some people, they're fortunate to imagine him as the empathic listener that they never had. And maybe his father as the empathic listener that they never had. And just by formulating the question to a user group, several user groups, recumbent to Bent Rider Nation and recumbent bicycle riders, just by formulating that, it put me into that mode where my nervous system got tricked. Oh, okay, so we're in front of an empathic listener. And my nervous system was empowered by that to do problem solving I haven't been able to do yet.